Good morning, guys. Why should we do it? Why should we prepare ourselves through our minds? Why should we look to become successful? Today, we're introduced to Maya Angelou, and she is a woman who has done incredible things. And she gives us an opening quote that we should all remember. And this is the why, one of the whys of why we should develop ourselves, is because we can be a blessing to somebody else. But to do that, we need to prepare ourselves by being the best we can be. And that requires us to begin now, right where we are. What are we thinking? What are the thoughts that are going into our mind? What are we doing to work on our mind, which will affect us and which will affect those around us? You know, you can make an impact the first person you interact with today, or even without interacting, just by thinking. So Maya Angelou reminds us today to be a blessing to somebody else's life. Have a great morning, everyone.
I recently had Tony Robbins on my main channel for the third time in an interview, and so to celebrate that, please enjoy this special video from our vault.
Treat people at the end of the relationship like it's the beginning and there won't be an end. And that's not just your intimate relationship. What if your customers, what if you fell in love with your customers, with your clients, more than your product, more than your company? If your entire life was about meeting their needs, if you would do what for your customers and clients, you would do what? If you love your customers and clients, you do anything, guess what? They're gonna love you. But most people love their customers and clients as long as they buy from them, do what they want, respond to them. And when they don't, they go, that's the end. You want clients for life, not just customers? Fall in love with them. It's a different focus, isn't it? It's a different meaning. And that creates a different life because you make decisions differently from that place.
Too many people treat their business like a machine that's supposed to just generate money for them instead of understanding what a business actually is. And that's when you provide a lot of value to your customers, then guess what? They come back. They want to buy more. They tell their friends. When you love them, when you treat them like they're your family, like they're the closest thing to you, when they feel that love and care and attention, then they love you back. You have to give it first before you can expect to receive it. Most people are used to being treated like a number. Why do you stand out as an entrepreneur? It's gonna come because your story, your passion will come through instead of dealing with a giant corporation. The benefit of going with a big company is they have the reputation, they have the experience, they have the trust, they have the customers, they have the testimonials. Why should I buy from you instead of buying from this big giant corporation? Because you're gonna care, right? Because I love you, because I see your stuff and I'm just consumed by it, because your story means something to me, because you're gonna try to help me out when that big company isn't. Like, that's how you win as an entrepreneur, especially in the early stages. You need your customers to love you, and that's not gonna come from them loving you first. It's gotta be the other way around. You have to love them first. You have to over-deliver like crazy. You have to give them more than what they expected. A couple quick examples from my life. My real estate agent, this guy was just the closest guy to me. When I was looking to get a new condo and sell my house, this guy was the closest guy to me. He was across the street. Like, okay, great, that guy, great. Literally, accidental coming across this guy. And he did a fantastic job, not just helping me in terms of the advice and how much should I sell for and managing the process, but a lot of it of managing me and what I hate. So, I hate paperwork. I hate it. Like, thing of real estate, signing all the papers, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It's such a waste of time. I hate formalities and administrative work. And so he allowed me to do everything electronically. It's great. Paste. Yes. Accept, accept, accept. Done. Automatic signature. Yes. Amazing. Right? I love it. And that's kind of a little bit beyond the expectation, right? Compared to other real estate agents. It's not like amazing, but it's better than what most people would do. But the next one, I had a leak in my fridge. I had a leak in the freezer, and water kept coming out onto my floor, and I didn't know how to solve it. I'm the least handy guy in the world. I could change a light bulb, but that's about it. I didn't know why this thing kept leaking, and I had to keep cleaning up the floor. So Mark came over, and he said, you know what? Let me come over. I'll just come over and check it out. Like, yeah, you could deal with the building and all that stuff, but let me just come over and see. And he came over, and he showed me the problem. He said, here's how you fix it. right? Like he took time out of his evening after he'd already closed the sale. And like the next time I'm going to buy from him and move out to another place, maybe a couple of years. So why invest the time, right? He'd already done a great job for me. I was still going to refer him and probably work with him the next time. Why invest the time to come over? It's just, that's his style. And I love it, right? I love it. And so the next time I move, I'm hiring him again. Anybody who asks me for a real estate agent, I'm giving him the business. And you got to deal with Mark first. He's going to give you amazing service. And just by doing those little extra things, by him showing me love, I'm going to show that back to him. That's what you need to do for your business. There's another woman named Maria, who I'm doing some work with now. She was she's the mother of somebody who works for me at my business. And she was selling internet services. I'm like, okay, great. Like, try to support the people in my community, my family of employees. And I thought, okay, great. We'll use that service. And the service didn't end up really working out for us, just for a variety of reasons. Didn't quite provide the level that we needed. But I loved her. I met her, and she's got this just insane vibe, amazing energy, trying to contribute, asking me about my business, trying to figure out ways to help, even though she's not in my business. She doesn't know anything about my business. She's not the expert in my business, but she just loves it, right? When I had my book come out, as soon as I posted on Facebook to my friends, I need people to review my book. Anybody wants to review my book, I need feedback. I need 30 people. She's like one of the first ones in. I want to review the book. I want to give feedback. And she devoured it, left amazing feedback, underlining, highlights, mistakes, suggestions, and just had this amazing, caring, giving vibe. And so after the internet thing, she switched businesses to another company selling a whole bunch of natural products. I don't even remember the name. I can't pronounce the name. It's this crazy name. And I'm now looking for ways to help her, right? So the deal we worked out is part of that business sells nutritional bars, energy bars, healthy energy bars. It's like, great, I want to help you. I love you. Every month I want to order $100 worth of energy bars and we'll give them to my team at Toronto Dance Salsa. Do I need them? Not really. Would I have done it normally? No. I just love Maria. She's great. Like, she did so much to help me, from just a love, energy, great person to be around, so much care, that now I'm going out of my way to try to help her and find ways that I can help her in her business. That's what you want. That's what you need. You got to show so much insane love towards your customers that they feel it. You break through. You're the one company that breaks through, that actually cares about that person, and then it'll come back to you. They will buy from you. They will look for reasons to want to buy from you. They will look for reasons to want to refer people onto you because they felt that love that you showed them. Stop treating your business like it's just an income generating machine and actually care about your customers. When you do that, you start to see that big growth. So the question today is, I'm curious, what is something that you've done to really show the love to a customer? What's the story you're most proud of what you did to help a customer out? Leave in the comments below. I'm really curious to find out. I also want to give a quick shout out to William and Tim from projectauthenticity.org. Thank you so much for picking up a copy of my book, Your One Word, and posting that picture and that blog post of you going through the exercise. I really appreciate it. I hope you gained a lot from the book and are applying the lessons to your life and your business. And I just want to thank you for your support. So thank you guys again for watching. I believe in you, and I hope you continue to believe in yourself and whatever your one word is. I'll see you again tomorrow morning for another shot of espresso.
I wake up every morning. Espresso, keep me going.
Do you care what people say? What people think of you?
No, I mean, I gave up a long time worrying and concerning myself over that. I care what people say about what I do professionally. I care about what my customer says. That's what I do care about, because why do I do what I do? I do what I do because I love women. I want to empower women. I want women to feel good. I want them to feel beautiful. And so I care about what my customer thinks, because I want to give her what she wants. But generally speaking, I don't focus too much on anything negative.
Brands are so important, and that's one thing at the company we're making a big investment in, of building our brands, but building it based on substance, starting with having great cars, trucks, and crossovers, starting with having a good relationship when you interact with the company, when you interact with our dealers, because they're our face of the company. And it's every one of the things in our value of customer is every interaction matters. And if you really put the customer at the center and you look at, because what I find with most customers, I mean, a car, truck, or crossover has about 30,000 parts that are integrated with millions and millions of lines of software. And we have rigorous validation processes, and they're improving as we really, work to be industry leaders in having a systems approach to how we put cars on the road. But if something happens, a customer, wants you to care, wants you to listen, wants you to care, and would like you to fix it. And it's really that easy. If you listen, you care, and you fix it, they will be your best advocate. One of the stories I tell is in the early days of the ignition switch, one of the things we said, we had done extensive testing. We knew the vehicles were safe to drive if you just used the key or a key with just a ring. But we said to customers, if you are uncomfortable, we will give you a loaner. And so in the early days, getting that situated where communicating to all of our dealers, making sure they knew, and getting the loaners. I had a customer who was very upset, said, you said I could get a loaner. I went to my dealer. They said they don't have one, and so he sent me a note saying, it was kind of personal. It was like, and I hate you, and I'm never going to buy a General Motors product again. It wasn't exactly that, but that was the tone. And so it was on a Friday afternoon, and I went, okay. And so I called my head of customer service. And I sent a note back to him because other than email, I didn't know how to get a hold of him. I said, could I call you? Would you be willing to share your phone number, and could I give you a call? So a minute or two later, I get the phone number. I pick up the phone. I call him. I listen. And I said, you know what, it's early days in getting loaners. I'm sure there was a misunderstanding. Would you give me a chance to work on this? And I immediately called Alicia Bowler-Davis, our head of customer care at that time. And by the next morning, we had a car for him. And the next week, I got this note. I can't believe you cared. I can't believe you talked to me. And I can't believe the next day I had a loaner. And so, said, this is a company I want to be associated with. And so, again, it's every interaction does matter, and I think doing the right things, putting technologically leading vehicles and services and providing that value to customers, but then if something happens, dealing with it and standing up, I think that's the only way.
Right now would be the perfect time to share a customer service story with you. True story. A couple years ago, I got a call from a young lady. I was all excited. She tells me she's looking for a property, and then she says the word lease. Our favorite words as realtors. I'm looking for a lease. Unless it's an $85,000 a month lease, I don't know. But I was in a good mood, so I took that call, and I said, sure, I'll help you find a lease. And it turns out it was a $5,000 a month lease. And I took her around for 6 months. The term was only a year. Anyways, I like to finish what I start. So I went through with it, found her an amazing place. She couldn't be happier. In fact, she was so happy that she called her father that night. And she said, Dad, I got the greatest place. My realtor's amazing. He doesn't care about money at all. And it happened to be that her father was sitting next to the CEO of his company. And he heard the story, and that CEO said, actually, I'm thinking of selling my penthouse. Maybe I should use that guy. Sure enough, I went in, I met the CEO, and I got the listing of his $4 million penthouse. While I was sitting that open house on that $4 million penthouse, because that's my favorite thing to do, a celebrity walked in. And that celebrity walked around, and he checked out that incredible penthouse, and he looked at me and he said, yeah, this is cool. Do you have anything cooler? I said, sure. So I went back to the office and I put together the list of the coolest penthouses you could find. And I showed that celebrity around, and that celebrity ended up buying an $11 million penthouse which broke the record for Santa Monica. So from that lease, that $5,000 a month lease, which led to that $4 million penthouse sale, which led to that $11 million penthouse sale. And it is the gift that keeps on giving on and on and on. That is why customer service is so important to everybody's business.
If you want to see my recent interview with Tony Robbins, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
There is a regenerative revolution that's happening in medicine right now, in precision medicine.
Good afternoon, guys. How do we stay on our path to developing our minds and being our best selves? How do we do it? Especially when it gets tough, especially when outside conditions start to affect us, especially when negative things happen and it seems like things are never going to change. What I found is you remember your why. Why are you working on yourself? Why are you trying to develop the best part of you through the power of your mind? Your why has to be strong enough. And let's remember that every time we're seeking a change outside of us because we don't like it, the moment we begin to work on that change within us, including the thought that caused that drive to change the outside conditions, the moment we start to work within, we start to affect the outside. So you have to understand that your why has to be the strongest thing that drives you and keeps you determined. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Elon Musk, and my take on his top 50 rules for success. Enjoy.
We really tried hard to convince a lot of companies. Honestly, I was in so many panels, but they generally was, generally the sentiment that was expressed that you mentioned earlier, that was pretty much universal. Especially back in, say, 2008 or 2007, like when we first unveiled the Roadster in 2007, I mean, it was just basically, they just said, well, you're basically a bunch of fools. Well, I mean, generally they would say like, well, starting a car company is crazy. You're going to lose all your money. I was like, I think I probably will lose all my money. I agree. It wasn't like I thought it would be successful. I thought we had maybe a 10% chance of success. So then people would say, it's going to fail and you're going to lose everything. I was like, yeah, probably true. Yeah. What else is new?
I think just generally the path to leadership should not be through, basically MBA business school situation. It's like, it should be kind of work your way up, do useful things, and, and there's a bit too much of somebody goes to a high profile MBA school and then kind of parachutes in as the leader, but they don't actually know how things work. They can be good at, say, PowerPoint presentations or something like that, and they can present well, but they don't actually know how things work because they do not, they parachute in instead of like working their way up.
They never went through an apprenticemainship, for lack of a better word.
They're kind of like just not aware of what's really needed for to make great products. So. I mean, I don't want to trash MBAs too much here, and I actually do have a dual undergrad, Wharton undergrad, and physics at UPenn. So, so I have like, I have direct exposure to business school, and I went, to do undergrad business school with physics, but and I was a teaching assistant for 2 semesters, and I graded MBAs and undergrads. But I think it's just a little bit too much, like people look at MBA school as like, I want to parachute into being the boss instead of earning it. And like, I don't think that's good.
What do you look for in the people you hire, especially the engineers?
Really just look for evidence of exceptional ability. So it's not, or at least aspirationally, like sometimes these things get messed up in recruiting, or the recruiting filter ends up being wrong. Like I sometimes wonder with Tesla, if Nikola Tesla applied to Tesla, would we even give him an interview? It's not clear. You know, this guy came from like some weird college somewhere in Eastern Europe. He's got some odd mannerisms. Now, we don't know if we should give him an interview. Like, I worry that that's actually what we do instead of like, it should be like, man, Nikola Tesla, this kid's super smart. What does he want? We'll pay him anything. That should be that should be the reaction if Nikola Tesla applies, you know, to Tesla, ironically. But I can tell you the intent is we're looking for evidence of exceptional ability, and it really doesn't matter if you went to graduate high school or college or anything. We're just looking for evidence of exceptional ability, such that it would be a good predictor for doing exceptional things at SpaceX.
Is it going to be a business kind of tourism in orbit, or is it more a kind of plan B if things on Earth do not develop as well?
It's not exactly a plan B. It's more that I think there's two aspects to this. One is that we want to have a future that is inspiring and exciting. And what are the things that you find inspiring and exciting about the future? And I think a future where we are a spacefaring civilization and out there among the stars, I think every kid gets excited about that. You don't even need to teach them. They just get it. It's like instinctive. And so it's very important for us to have reasons to be excited about life. Like when you wake up in the morning, it can't just be about problems. It's okay. I know everyone in this room deals with a lot of tough problems, but you know it's got to be more than that. So, you know, I think a future where you can say, hey, even if it's not you, there's going to be people out there. We can have a base on the moon. We're going to have a city on Mars. Maybe go further, the moons of Jupiter and everything. I think that's a very exciting future.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
This was X.com was a precursor to PayPal, basically.
That's right, yeah.
You merged with Confinity, and it became PayPal major success.
Yeah, so it worked out better than we expected. Confinity. So initially, Confinity and X.com started out from slightly different directions, and then converged to the same point. With X, the thought was to create an integrated set of financial services, so you could go to one place and do all of your financial anything. And then as a feature, we had the ability to transfer money or securities or anything simply by entering a unique identifier. So like a email address or phone number or something like that. But when we would demo the system, the hard stuff, which was the integration of all the financial services, people would not be interested in. But they'd be really interested in being able to transfer money using an email address, even though that was actually quite easy. And so we focused our energy on that. And although it's easy in principle, what gets really hard is adding security while still keeping it easy to use. So, because it's like the Willy Loman quote, like why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is. So why do people rob PayPal? Same reason. Right. And so you can dial up the security to a really high level, but then you're going to make it very hard to use. And so that was one of the toughest things we wrestled with. You first have to say what is the goal. And once you have what is the goal, you can then measure the various designs against that goal. Otherwise, you're saying, how are you evaluating why is one design better than another? What's your goal? It's got to be a goal. So the goal is get enough tonnage to Mars and enough people to make Mars self-sustaining as quickly as possible.
So then you say, okay, let's back out the math on this. We're gonna need a lot of tonnage. Maybe, I don't know, 100,000 tons, maybe 1 million tons. So you can't be faffing around with these expandable rockets. They're a joke.
The key to making things affordable is like designing. It's like design and technology improvements as well as scale. So if you think of like say phones, like the earliest cell phones. Like I don't know if you remember, I'm probably like dating myself here, but like the original Wall Street. Where the guy's like walking down the beach and he's got like the
it's like on a
giant phone.
He's carrying on like a briefcase kind of thing. They're massive. Yeah.
Like massive phone.
Yeah.
And like all it could do is phone.
Yep. Yep.
And like had like 30 minutes of battery life and that kind of thing. Now, at that time, in the absence of technology improvements, like no amount of money, no amount of scale could have made that phone affordable. That'd be a lot of engineering iterations, a lot of design iterations. And we're probably, I don't know, on the 30th version of a cell phone. And with each successive design iteration, you can add more capability, you can integrate more things, you figure out better ways to produce it. So it actually gets better and cheaper, but it's like a natural progression of any new technology that it takes multiple versions and a large volume in order to make it affordable. Other car companies just really want to outsource battery technology, not even making this battery module and cell, but they're obviously outsourcing the cells, but even outsourcing the modules and the packs. Yeah. You know, and it's like they're really not thinking about fundamental chemistry improvements, and so I should say a bit about like electric vehicles or sustainable energy in general. You know, so it was pretty, I think, obvious to not just to me, but to a lot of people, even go back 30 years or longer, that we must have a sustainable energy solution. In fact, it's tautological. If it's not sustainable, we must at some point find an alternative to it. Mm-hmm. And so, even if there were no environmental impact to the sort of a fossil fuel economy, then we would run out of them, and then we'd have economic collapse, and civilization would fall apart. Yeah. So that was actually my initial motivation for electric vehicles. It's like, okay, we've got to have a solution that does not require mining hydrocarbons. That is sustainable in the long term. It was not actually initially from an environmental standpoint, because I had not realized the gravity of the environmental situation at that time. And I thought, actually, for sure, by now we'd have electric cars. We're focused on, like I said, it is important to have the objective be right. That's why I was talking so much about the importance of making Mars building a self-sustaining city on Mars. If that's the objective, then obviously, just putting some satellites in orbit that's not important. You have to achieve full and rapid reusability. I emphasize full and rapid. Reusability is only relevant to the degree it's rapid and complete. And then you also have to do orbital refilling. This is essential as well. And then propellant production on Mars, also essential. So, with that as the goal, then that means that creates, I think, a good forcing function for radical innovation, because in the absence of radical innovation, we have no chance of meeting that goal. Whereas if our goal was simply, defeat Lockheed and Boeing or something like that, that we would probably achieve that goal.
You've already done it.
Well, that really wasn't even a thing, Yeah. I wish it was. They're not really trying to do reusability, which is bizarre because they make planes that are reusable. So, I mean, if they talk to one of their customers, buys a Lockheed fighter jet or a Boeing aircraft, like, hey, we're going to sell you a 737 that can be used once, and it's not a 737 Max. But that turns out that was a single-use airplane at times. But it really. It would be an absurd thing for them to sell a single-use aircraft, but they feel quite comfortable selling a single-use rocket. And anyway, but if our goal was simply we're going to be the leaders in launching the conventional
satellites that exist. We would probably approach that in kind of sort of a logarithmic basis where, you'd get there and you'd sort of slowly make progress towards doing 10 launches a year, 12 launches a year, and while they do 6 or something like that. I don't know. But since the goal is, hey, we need to make life multiplanetary before it's too late, and time really matters. So it's like we're shooting for Mars, not just the moon. It's not let's shoot for the moon, shoot for Mars. And then these competitive things are kind of small things along the way. Unless somebody else is shooting for Mars, they will not be competitive with something as pedestrian as launching a few satellites into Earth orbit.
Why is music so important for you? Techno music in particular?
Well, it's pretty fun. I think it's, you want to, I don't know, feel maximum human, And so I think when people have like sort of rave and good music, it can be like, hey, maximum human, You want to really feel, it's like what really gets you to feel, And I think that, having fun with friends and, just crazy dancing is fun.
Perhaps your love for techno music is the secret reason why you are building big projects in Berlin.
Honestly, it's a significant factor. Innovation comes from questioning the way things have been done before.
Yeah.
And if in the education system you're taught not to do that, that will inhibit entrepreneurship.
Being able to question what you're being taught, being able to.
Yeah. I mean, just saying, well, is there a better way?
Yeah.
To ask that question. The things that I've chosen have not been. I've not been trying to optimize on a risk-adjusted return basis. So there are, I would not say that I went into the rocket business, the car business, or the solar business thinking that it's a great opportunity. I just thought that something needed to be done in these industries in order to make a difference, and that's why I did it. So, but in general, I do think it's worth thinking about whether what you're doing is going to result in disruptive change or not. If it's just incremental, it's unlikely to be something major. It's got to be something that's substantially better than what's gone on before. If you want to do something really innovative, you have to apply a sort of first principles analysis, and don't reason by analogy. Analogies are referencing the past. First principles means you look at the most fundamental truths in a particular arena, and the things that really are almost indisputably correct, and you reason up from there to a conclusion. And if you see that conclusion is at odds with what people generally believe, then you have an opportunity. Now, you can't operate like that on all things because it takes too much mental horsepower. So most of your life you have to operate by reasoning by analogy. But if you really want to innovate, you must reason from first principles to identify the problem. If the output is more valuable than the input, which is really, that's profit. Like the output's more valuable than the input. That says you have a useful company. But in a high growth scenario, you have a lot more inputs for future outputs, so that you have negative cash flow and lack of profitability, and which we currently have at Tesla. But in the long term, of course, that has to be fixed. There can't be negative cash flow in the long term, and that there needs to be a net positive output, which is sort of profits in the long term. But in the short term, when there's high growth, it isn't the most sensible. I think it is definitely true that, maybe there are occasionally companies that get created where there's not an extended period of extreme pain, but I'm not aware of very many of such instances.
Yeah.
But I do think that new great entrepreneurs are born every day.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to see amazing companies get built. But I would definitely advise people who are starting a company to expect
a long period of quite high difficulty. I think that the way that we currently do education is wrong, and when you see something like the Khan Academy and so forth, I think that's probably going in the right direction. I mean, generally you want education to be like as close to a video game as possible, like a good video game. Like, you do not need to tell your kid to play video games. They will play video games on autopilot all day. So if you can make it interactive and engaging, then you can make education far more compelling and far easier to do. So I think that's how it should be. And it shouldn't be that you've got like these grades where people move in lockstep. And so everyone goes through, goes like normally, we'll go through English, math, science and so forth from like 5th grade to 6th grade to 7th grade, like it's an assembly line. But people are not objects on an assembly line. That's a ridiculous notion. People learn and are interested in different things at different paces. So you really want to disconnect the whole grade level thing from the subjects. Allow people to progress at the fastest pace that they can or are interested in each subject.
You want to make something beautiful. I mean, you want to trigger whatever fundamental aesthetic algorithms are like in your brain. You have, I think, some intrinsic elements that represent beauty, and that trigger the emotion of appreciation of beauty in your mind. And I think that these are actually relatively consistent among people. I mean, not completely. Some people not everyone likes the same thing, but there's a lot of commonality, but I think it is important to combine aesthetic design with functionality. Like the thing that's like, if you say like what was really hard about, say, the Model S or the Model X, was to combine aesthetics and utility. So to balance the two. You can make a car look very good by giving it sort of certain proportions, like making it sort of low and slim, but if you do that, the utility is significantly affected.
How do you keep your focus on the big picture when you're constantly faced with, we could be out of business in a month?
Well, it's just a very small percentage of mental energy is on the big picture. Like you know where you're generally heading for, and the actual path is going to be some sort of zigzaggy thing in that direction. And try not to deviate too far from the path that you want to be on, but you're going to have to do that to some degree. But I don't want to diminish the. I mean, I think the profit motive is a good one if the rules of an industry are properly set up. So there's nothing fundamentally wrong with profit. In fact, profit just means that people are paying you more for whatever you're doing than you're spending to create it. That's a good thing. and if that's not the case, then you'll be out of business, and rightfully so. Because you're not adding enough value. And just in general, critical thinking is good. Examining whether you have the correct axioms, are the most applicable axioms, does the logic necessarily connect, and then what are the range of probable outcomes? Outcomes are usually not deterministic. They're a range, and so you want to figure out what those probabilities are, and make sure, ideally, that you're the house. It's fine to take. It's fine to gamble so long as you're the house.
Yes. You celebrated your 30th birthday with a masked ball in Venice. 40th birthday, I was told you had a fight with a samurai sword fighter. What is your plan for your 50th birthday next year?
So my 40th birthday was in Venice. It was technically a post-apocalyptic masked ball. Because after the apocalypse, how much clothing do you really have? It's probably going to be a little ragged, a little burnt, No
plans for the 50th?
Yeah, 50th. the half-century party. I'll have to think of something. Usually go with some kind of crazy theme. The party where I ended up wrestling with the world champion sumo wrestler, which by the way also caused me to burst a disc in my neck. So, 5 minutes of glory for 5 years of pain. That really hurt. So that party was Victorian Japanese steampunk. So that was cool. I have to think of something for the half-century party.
You have a little time to think.
Hey, being on Earth for a half-century. That's like, hey, I'm still alive. Wow, cool.
You want to make something beautiful.
Good evening, guys. As we live each day and try to become the best we can be on our path, we have to remember what a blessing we can be in the most simplest of things. And I want to share with you a personal story. When I came on in 2018 and started doing videos, trying to help people with some of the things I've learned, when I started doing that, it was so new and so scary for me. And I went and I did it anyway. But my point is that you don't realize how much you have helped me. Even though we may not be interacting as much as we would like to, perhaps, I want you to know that you are so powerful in how you can be a blessing to somebody. You've been a blessing to my life. I'm still doing this because I gained the support and the love from you. You know, even a thought you have, one little comment can make all the difference to somebody's life. So let's remember that as we continue. Have a great evening, everyone.
Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know you've got more inside you. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and get some amazing motivation from the one and only Marissa Peer. Enjoy.
Your mind responds to the pictures and words. The fastest way to change anything is to change the pictures and words. And it's such an easy thing to do. I'm terrified, I'm elated. I'm useless, I'm amazing. I have no memory, my memory is compelling. I can't speak to people. What I have to say is easy. I find it easy to speak to anyone. This is the most vexing rule of the mind for every therapist and coach in the room. It's the one my clients have the hardest time with. Your mind loves what is familiar. If your mind could choose, it would stay with what's familiar and never go to what's unfamiliar. We're in a walled city. And that's interesting because years ago at night, they shut the door and we stayed in the wall. We didn't think, do you know, I feel like going for a midnight stroll. I think I'll wander. I'm a bit bored of being in this same old. I want some variety. I think I'll open the gate, wander off and find another tribe. They might have killed you or eaten you. We learned familiar made us safe. Who here notices with their kids when they're little, they want the same cup, the same bowl, the same cereal? I took my daughter to Finland to see Santa Claus. She watched Little Mermaid in Finnish the whole time. And that was okay in Finnish because she knew, she'd watched it 110 times where I'm like, babe, here's Father Christmas, here's only Mummy. I want to watch The Little Mermaid. It's like, well, next time we'll just stay home and watch a movie then. She did actually get into it, but it made her feel good. She used to play this game. She had so many Barbies, and Ken would come up in his car, and he always picked the same one. He never picked another one to go to the ball because they like familiar. It makes them safe. You know, how many kids you have, they want the same story every night. But familiar also makes us safe. So here's a rule of the mind, and it's a very important rule to put into practice. My mind likes what is familiar, and it doesn't like what's unfamiliar. Okay. But I can make anything negative unfamiliar and anything positive familiar. Let's start with praise. It's the most simple, but the most powerful. I meet clients who are never praised. I met one girl whose dad said, "You're so rubbish, just like your mother. God knows what you've got going. If any man asks you out, snap them up, because you are nothing. You're not interesting, you're not attractive, and you get pregnant, you'll blow up just like her and be a big fat mess. So if anyone wants to be with you, I can't imagine why. Take them. And she heard that a lot. So she had this interesting belief, I've got nothing to offer the world. And I did a lot of work with her, and she went out, it was just amazing. It was like magic. This guy came up, and he asked me out, and he was so nice. I mean, he actually made another date, and he picked me up in his car and took me out for dinner, told me I was amazing. I'm never seeing him again. I'm like, really? She went, no, he was too good for me. I'm like, oh, let's change that wording to his behavior was so unfamiliar. I don't recognize praise or niceness or somebody believing I'm worth something, and I want to run back to the familiar guys I have to beg to take me out, or seeing my friends, I pay the bill, and they remind me of my dad. And I'm like, well, guess what? You're not supposed to have sex with your dad. So there's a clue. If someone is like your dad, I don't think you should be getting into bed with them. And I think you need to make that unfair. People like it when you make them laugh. So she went, right. So I said, you need to go out with this guy, and this is what you do. You keep saying, I will make this familiar. He rings me when he says he will. I make it familiar. He texts me. I'll make it familiar. I will make it familiar. And she ended up marrying him. She's very happy. She said, how weird, the other guy called me and said, what happened to me? She went, what, the guy who never called me? You never called me, so I just let you go. So you have to say, let's do it with all of you. How many of you find praise a little unfamiliar? How many of you find praising yourself even more unfamiliar? Okay, so if you're never praised and you're criticized a lot, and criticism is familiar, when someone goes, wow, I love that t-shirt, you go, I got it free, it's got a hole in it, I've had it 8 years. I loved your speech, didn't you notice I missed out the best bit? No, I thought it was amazing. I hear you're the best salesperson in your team. Yeah, but not in my county, there's another guy way better than me. So if praise isn't familiar, you will reject praise, but you'll add in what's familiar, criticism. So one of the best things you can do that will change your life is to make praising yourself familiar and to make criticism unfamiliar. The body holds on to pain and stress and tension and grief. And we carry around all this stuff, and yet we really don't have to if just more people knew. Even to say I'm enough every day. Yeah. And to say, another of my favorite things goes, I'm choosing this and I'm choosing to feel great. I'm choosing to work on my website all weekend. I'm choosing to go to the gym. I don't love it, but I love having a six-pack. I'm choosing to say no to Krispy Kreme donuts and yes to apples.
Love Krispy Kremes.
Do you?
I could eat 12 of them right now. Oh, they're so good. But I choose to eat healthy.
Yeah, choose. And if you say, I'm choosing to do this and choosing to feel great about it, your mind has a very clear image. The way you feel about everything is down to two things: the pictures you make in your head and the words you say to yourself. There's nothing else. So if you choose to run, going, I'm running, so I'm raising money for charity, so I'm going to complete this run. Even though my feet hurt, my knee hurts because I'm going to raise money. But you could run going, oh, I hate this. I could be at home watching Netflix, I haven't eaten, and now my knee hurts, and then you'll have to stop. So when you keep saying, I'm choosing
because,
it. Yeah. So if you're an Olympic athlete, you would choose to get up at 4 a.m. and train. If you are a diabetic, you choose to put a needle in your arm. If you wear lenses, you choose to jab your finger in your eye. But you don't go, oh, I hate it. I can't accept it, and I can't change it. Imagination is more powerful than knowledge when dealing with your own mind and the mind of others. If I said to any of you, come and stand on this chair, who would come and stand on this chair? I'll give you $100 to stand on this chair. Sure. If I said, well, now the chair is on top of that spire on the highest building in Tallinn, who's going to climb up and stand on it for $100? Who would do that? Some people would, because they've got a good imagination. They go, if I can stand on it there, I can stand. And most people go, no, I could fall. If we had a little tiny plank up here, you can walk the plank when it's on the floor. Put the plank between two high-rise buildings. Who's going to walk it? Not many people, because the imagination that you could fall and kill yourself is way more powerful than the knowledge that I did this on the ground. It's wide enough. Fear of flying. Knowledge says it's actually the safest place in the world. The most dangerous part of a flight is actually the drive to the airport. That's way more dangerous than being in the plane Do you think the imagination cares? We'll go, I'm in a flying coffin. I'm hurtling through the air, and that guy looks like he's come straight out of ISIS, and he's in the bar. I think he's going to blow up the plane. And then you feel terrible. The other person's going, I'm watching a movie. I've always wanted to watch The Shape of Water. This is so great. Here's my time again to do nothing. So whatever you imagine will defeat logic, will defeat knowledge. And when dealing with children, people do logical stuff. Why are you so bad? Why can't you get it? What's going on? Why are you so naughty? And that doesn't work. I never say to kids, why are you bad? I go, what happened to you? You can only love another person to the degree that you love yourself. And another person can only love you to the degree that they love themselves. And so if you go through life feeling you're unlovable, that will always affect the quality of the relationships you have. And if you date or marry or live with someone who thinks they are unlovable, it's very hard to have a really healthy, great relationship if the person you are with feels unlovable, or if you, at some deep level, think that you are unlovable. And more problems occur from people attracting the wrong relationships, staying in the wrong relationship, because they feel unlovable. I see people in my office time and time and time again who are with the wrong person, and they're too scared to leave in case they won't find someone else. They say, well, we've been together for so long, what's the point? But everything changes when you know that you are lovable. And you see, lovability is essential to being happy. And I have many people who go, well, you know, I've never felt love. Being loved is just a foreign country to me. I don't know what love is. I've gone through my whole life never having had love. And Marilyn Monroe, bless her heart, somebody said to her once, Marilyn, what is this thing about you wearing those really tight dresses and dancing in front of all of those soldiers with everything hanging out? She said, and I'm going to quote her word for word, I need the whole world to love me. I must belong to everyone because I've never belonged to anyone or anything in my entire life, and I probably never will. And there was a girl who was beautiful, stunning, engaging. Everybody loved Marilyn except Marilyn. But you see, if you can't love yourself, nothing really matters. You do know, don't you, that people who are critical have so much criticism reserved for themselves. They actively dislike themselves. And you're actually showing me and the entire office that you really don't like yourself.
By critiquing me.
Yeah, by critiquing, you're just showing me. Yeah, critical people always have criticism reserved for themselves. They are full of self-criticism, but they reflect it out. And superior people and happy people always praise, and people who feel inadequate always criticize, because criticize withers you and praise builds you up. And if you can use those 5 techniques, thanks for sharing, could you repeat that? Are you trying to hurt my feelings? Won't work, I'm not letting it in. Since we're sharing, did you know what is running your critical behavior? You don't let it in, and being able to not let in criticism, that too will change your life. It makes you bulletproof. You can't stop people being mean and having a horrible day. And we now have trolling, which is becoming an epidemic. So it's actually worse. Our kids used to get bullied at school and go home to a sanctuary.
Now they're bullied online.
Now they're bullied online, on the phone. And it never ends, and they feel really attacked. And see, when you find trolls, they're usually really miserable and unhappy, but they love the power because they have no power. They live on their own or with their mum. They have no life. I mean, we had a terrible situation in England where somebody was trolling this person whose child had been kidnapped, and when they exposed her, she killed herself.
Oh, man.
Which was a terrible thing for her, but obviously her sense of shame that she was outed and to kill herself, but she must have felt terrible. I felt so sorry for her. But she was very vicious in her trolling, but that's a really unhappy person. She needed a lot of help. But when you can teach people to come back from criticism without fighting or going, well, I hate you too, or you're all shut up, or crying, when you can just teach them, look, I'm not letting it in. It's like if I try to give you a gift, you go, no, I don't need that gift. I'm holding the gift. I can't give you something if you don't take it.
Right.
I can't serve papers on you unless you accept them. I can't serve a volley to you unless you volley it back. So when you learn that people can try and give you anything, but if you don't accept it, you haven't let it in. And if you don't let it in, it can't hurt you.
This is
It just
fascinating.
hurts the person who's left holding it. But I find that even with cancer, if you have that belief, I'm going to try all this stuff, but it won't work, and I'm riddled with it, and there's no hope, and they start to read all these terrible diagnoses. I mean, in England, you are not allowed to say to someone, you've got 10 months to live, because that's what happens. They turn into the 10 months. You cannot diagnose
What do they
them.
tell them?
They just say, we're going to do this, and you may not survive this, but you could. And in the same way that if you are having surgery and they go, oh, look, this is a complete mess in here, there's just no way. Even in surgery, your subconscious is hearing what's going on around you. And there are many people who come out of a coma who said, I heard everything. The hearing is the last thing to go. And so if you make a choice to talk to yourself better, you can bounce back. You might as well use your mind as much as you possibly can to be well. And like all computers, the thing with your brain is it's always switched on and it records everything. The way you feel about everything is down to two things: the pictures you make in your head and the words you say to yourself. So if you watch people on a roller coaster, are they screaming because they're happy or terrified? Who knows? The mind doesn't even know, actually. But if you say, I'm excited and this is thrilling, or I'm terrified and I hate it, you actually will get the same response. You can even just change the words and not the pictures, because the words create the picture. So imagine you had to go on stage or go for an audition or go for an assessment with your boss. You go, oh my God, I'm so scared and it's going to be terrible. I know I'm going to break out in a sweat, and I know when he asks me a question, I'm going to open my mouth and go, oh. Or you can go, I'm excited. This is my opportunity to show him who I am and what I can do for this company. I've got 20 minutes on my own with the boss to present him some ideas I have. I'm excited. Your mind doesn't question that. So you can be excited or nervous. You can be terrified or ecstatic. They kind of feel the same.
Why do we get addicted to the workaholic culture, to being busy? People are so busy being busy because it makes them feel validated. It makes them think, I've got so much to do. I've got so much on. I'm so busy. I must be enough. Here's the truth. You are already enough. So I see in our culture people working all the time, taking work home. We now have phones and laptops. We work in a restaurant. On the commute, we're sending emails, answering emails. We've got caught up in a big lie. If I'm busy, I'm important. If I'm busy, I'm valid. If I'm always doing something and working, being busy, 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 I feel I must matter, I must be significant, I must be enough. But actually, that's not true. When you're working all the time, your mind gets overheated. It's rather like your computer or your phone. You use your phone, runs out of power, and you recharge it. If you keep taking it back every minute, it never gets to recharge. And you are rather like a computer or a phone. You need to recharge by doing nothing at all. Switch on and work for 8 hours with lots of breaks, and then switch off, do nothing. You see, you're called a human being, not a human doing. And if you're a human being, it means you can be, not do. And this belief that when you're busy, you'll achieve more is untrue. All schools know that you teach for maybe an hour and then have recess or a break. People work better when they stop. Many years ago, I had an idea for a book, and I took the idea to a publisher, and they went, hey, we love this book, but we want more. Can you do another 8 chapters? I'm like, I don't know, but I've got a great belief, say yes to everything. I said, yes, of course. Of course I can do those 8 chapters. And I really had no idea, because I'd written the book, I'd given it all I had, didn't think there was anything left. And I could have gone home and thought, right, I've got to sit at my desk and find the chapters. But I knew that in not working, it would come to me. I was driving along one day, and all of a sudden, 2 chapters filled my head. I stopped the car, pulled out a checkbook, wrote it all down, carried on driving. As I wrote out those 2 chapters, 3 more came, and 2 more came. In being not busy, driving, chilling, relaxing, listening to me, my mind came up with the answers. And geniuses do not work. A genius will often lie under a tree in nature and go, that's when I get my best ideas. Einstein used to sit in a chair with a huge ball bearing, like a shot put in his hand, and the chair would rock, and he'd go to sleep, and he would drop it, and it would wake him up, and he'd wake up full of ideas, full of inventions. And you can do that too. Please don't believe you must be at your desk working so hard, because creative people get their best ideas when they are not working. I worked with a very successful person who worked for television, and she said, you know, my boss keeps saying, you need to be at your desk at 9, you need to be here until 6. I said, tell him the truth. She said, okay. Listen, I'm a creative. My mind comes up with ideas in the shower, when I'm making dinner, when I'm sitting in the garden. If I'm at my desk from 9 to 6, I am less creative than when I'm doing something else. You went, oh, okay. As long as you produce the material I require, I don't really care where you are. So she stopped having to believe I've got to be on. I've got to be seen to be at work, busy, busy, busy. I've got to multitask, make dinner, shop, create ideas. Stop. Just be, don't do. Your best ideas will come when you're not working. Sometimes it's when you're doing nothing that your mind gets creative. Remember something else, your mind is set up to answer your question. So when you say, how can I come up with a great idea? How could I find a great idea for a book or a pilot or a business, and just leave it? Your mind will go ahead and find the answer. But the conscious and subconscious are very different. And the subconscious works best when the conscious is not working. Let's give you a great example. You want to remember something. You should remember the name of that book, that recipe. What is it? Don't know. And then you go into think, it just popped into my head. When you're dealing with the subconscious mind, the creative mind, the less the conscious is there, the better it responds. Where did I put my keys? I don't know. But I went to do something else and suddenly up popped an image. My keys are in the fruit bowl. I remember now. But when you're consciously trying is very trying. Trying is lying. So forget about the conscious. Give it to your subconscious. Hey, subconscious, show me an idea. Give me an idea. Show me what I should be doing. And I trust that you'll do that. And I'm not going to be looking with you. And I can't find someone say to my mind, hey, mind, tell me where I put it. Hey, mind, give me an idea for this next talk, for this next YouTube video. And my subconscious is designed to answer any question I give it. Well, I start with how. How can I do this? But when I say, I don't know, let me try and try and try, don't try. It will all work out. Please stop being busy. Smart people work less. You don't need to work harder. You need to work smarter. You can do 3 times as much in less time if you open your mind to your possibilities and stop trying. Don't be busy. You're like a phone. Recharge. Then when you take time off, don't think, I'm just reading a magazine. I should be reading a book. I'm just watching trash. I should watch something educational. No. Take the time to do nothing. I spend a lot of time with tribes, and they spend a lot of time doing nothing because you're recharging like a battery. When you recharge, you work better. You have better ideas. You're more productive when you do less and recharge than when you do more. Take some time out. Think of yourself like a battery. Stop being busy and instead be productive. Work smarter, not harder.
I have a lot of friends, and I've seen it throughout my life. Sometimes it's like, okay, I leave one bad relationship and I go to the next bad relationship. I had a little theory on this. I want to test it out on you. I think it's a reflection of you.
Well,
the person that you end up with. There's people are like, okay, I keep finding the same person. I'm like, well, maybe you have to change yourself because you're going to keep attracting the same person.
You're completely correct. If you think you're not lovable,
Your belief is, I'm going to get dumped.
Well, nobody says I'm not lovable.
No, but they feel it. They believe it. Am I okay? Do I look? Are you sure? Could you come into my life and make me feel better? And you see these people who don't really believe they love, and they say to the other person, please love me. Could you love me? Sometimes they go, sure, yeah. And then they go, I don't want to love you, I'm bored now. Or they might go, no, not at all. So if you give someone the permission to make you feel good, they can make you feel bad. Of course, somebody can enhance it. So if you feel unlovable, if you feel not enough, the scourge of the modern world, because we're told you're enough if you're tall, if your breasts are up here, if you've got a six-pack, if you wear designer labels, if you've got a nice house, if you've got a nice car, if you haven't got that, you're not enough. So we buy into it, and then we try to find someone to make us feel enough, knowing that we're not enough. If you think you're not enough, your belief is, I'm going to get dumped. So if I pick a loser, well, they just dump me early. I don't have to prolong the pain. So imagine I don't think I'm good enough. I've got to find a guy who also thinks I'm not good enough and is also not good enough. And then that's going to end early. But if I found someone amazing and they left me, I go, now I know I'm not good enough because that great guy left me. But that idiot, alcoholic, well, he wasn't good enough for anybody anyway. So attracting toxic people is less painful because it's never going to work out. So I mean, it's simple. I only like married people. It's like, yeah, because they're not available to you. You have a belief that love isn't available, so you have a wild affair with someone who's married and it all goes wrong because that's what you expected. If you think love isn't available, you're not going to put yourself in front of some amazing quality person who could love you, because if they left you, that would hurt so much more than some loser in a bar who prefers drink to you.
Children can only work in the present tense. They don't understand tomorrow. My little girl said, Mummy, is it tomorrow today? She didn't know what yesterday, today, and tomorrow was. She goes, is it tomorrow now? Is it tonight today? Because they don't understand. They only understand now. That's why with a baby, when you leave the room, they think you're never coming back. And so children aren't really great at future pacing. Children can only respond to words that make pictures. The more vivid the picture, the more powerful they respond. So don't say you're a good kid. Say you are an amazing kid. What I love about you is you've got a natural gift for science. Or what I love about you is you're so good at cooking. What I love about you is how much you love learning. It doesn't matter if you don't get great grades. You love learning. The more you can make the picture good. See, I have so many kids who are twins ago. I was called twins. Twins, lunch is ready. Twins, get in the car, and they had no identity. Don't do that. Don't dress your kids the same. Don't say, I love you because you're smart. Because when you label a child, you limit them. Even a good label. I love you because you're beautiful. Kids say, and if I wasn't, you wouldn't. Don't do that. I love you because you're lovable. And when you grow up, people are going to love you. One of my clients said, I can't find love. My dad used to say to me every day, no one's ever going to love you like I do. Well, there's a program.